Advocates for our active military, veterans, and first responders. Presented by Gear Services Web Design. Alliance for the Brave, serving and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Tune in, join in, and plug in with us around the globe. Welcome to Alliance for the Brave.
In the air everywhere across America, you're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we bring education, information, and communication to today's veterans, active duty military, American patriots, first responders, and brother, anybody who'll listen. I'm Jim Blythe, a certified senior advisor, U.S. Navy veteran. Joining me, my partner, and we have so much fun. Good morning, London Mason.
Navy toot toot. Good morning, Jim.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It
and
is,
I got to tell you, I'm
feeling?
excited because now we've got another Navy veteran who's going to be on the phone with us.
Another Navy veteran.
A great one.
That's
and
what
I
I'm
got to tell you,
about.
welcome to Kimberly Mitchell. Kimberly,
All right.
welcome aboard.
Welcome.
So much, Jim. Happy to be here. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Kimberly, I got to tell you, I looked up the things, I read your bio. What an amazing, amazing human interest story that is so incredible. It was also featured in President George Bush's book. Matter of fact, he painted a portrait of you, I believe.
Wow.
He certainly did. He certainly did.
Kimberly, please tell us your story. It's one of the most fantastic stories I have ever heard.
The story is that back in 1972, when the North Vietnamese were advancing into Quang Tri, a South Vietnamese Marine and his company who were working alongside the American forces were assigned to evacuate the village of Quang Tri and then blow up the My Chang Bridge, which was just south of the village. Right before they blew up the bridge, they noticed that one last survivor was kind of stumbling across the bridge carrying a bundle. And when they went to investigate, they found out that this bundle was a baby wrapped up in a towel and placed in his hat. And they asked this gentleman, they said, "Is this your baby?" He said, No. He said, "I found this baby lying along the side of the road nursing on her dead mother." He said, "But I can't carry her any further." He said, "You take her." He was telling the South Vietnamese Marine, "You take her. There's an orphanage in Da Nang. Take her down to the orphanage and save this baby's life." So the South Vietnamese Marines took it upon themselves to basically commandeer one of the company jeeps and then took this baby down to Da Nang, to the Sacred Heart Orphanage. And when he gave this baby to the nuns, they said, "Well, what's her name?" And he's like, "She doesn't have a name." And they said, "Well, you brought her, you give her a name." And he said, "Well, in that case, I'm going to give her the name that I was going to name my first daughter, which was Nakbik, meaning precious pearl." And a few months later, there at the orphanage, a service member, an airman named James Mitchell, came over. He was stationed at the air base in Da Nang and did as many service members did during their time off in Vietnam. They would go over to the orphanage. They would bring gifts. They'd bring food. They'd bring clothes. They'd spend time with the kids. Kind of maybe something to kind of remind them maybe of home. And he brought some clothes and supplies over one day, and they, on that day, placed baby number 899, known as Tran Thi Nakbik, into his arms. And he fell in love, and in September of 1972, I was fortunate enough to be adopted and brought over to the United States when I was 10 months old to start my new life as an American kid growing up in the United States of America. My dad was still in the Air Force for the first 6 years of my life. So we kind of moved around like an Air Force family. So I was an Air Force brat. We were stationed at Cannon Air Force Base in Clovis, New Mexico, and then Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. And then he retired when I was in first grade, and we moved up to northern Wisconsin because northern Wisconsin is where my adoptive mother was from. And so we actually had the house right across the street from my grandma and grandpa, my mom's parents. And so that's where I spent my childhood in northern Wisconsin, where I was the only minority in my grade school, middle school, and high school. You know, and you know how kids can be is you know, everything's good until they're not good, right? And it just happened for me that it was in 7th grade, which is when I experienced something that I like to talk about, the power of humiliation, right? It's that time when people make it a point to let you know that maybe you look different, or maybe you act different, or maybe there's something different about you, and they kind of make fun of you, and they, you know, and a lot of times, you know, these days people call it bullying or picking on or whatever the term may be, but I like to call it power of humiliation because they really do. They use what you don't realize as something different, but they use it to try to elevate themselves over you. And so, you know, that was just at my 7th grade year, and then by the 8th grade, we're all friends again. So it's just kind of weird, you know. And so it ended up growing up and graduating there in 1990. But I knew I had a life of service, so I was trying to figure out, like, what did I want to do after I graduated from high school, and I knew that I wanted to go into service. My dad had wanted me to go into the Air Force Academy starting in about 3rd grade. He started talking about the Air Force Academy, so I kind of grew up thinking that I was going to go to the Air Force Academy. But in 10th grade, I was chosen from my class to go to something called the Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership Seminar. And when I was down in Waukesha, Wisconsin, after a seminar, I got to meet a retired Navy admiral. His name was Ray Winkle, and he asked me what I wanted to do once I graduated from high school. And I told him, at least I was smart enough to say, well, I'm interested in a service academy. I didn't specifically say Air Force Academy. And then he said, well, have you ever considered the Naval Academy? And I said, I don't know a whole lot about the Naval Academy. And so he said, well, give me your name and address. And he said, I'll make sure that they send you some information. And within 2 weeks after the conference, I started getting catalogs, brochures, information about the Naval Academy. And I tell you, it was all in color, and everyone was smiling, so clearly they were having a good time. And so I suddenly then, all my focus from the Air Force Academy went towards the Naval Academy. And I applied to the Naval Academy, actually got into the Naval Academy Prep School, which is in Newport, Rhode Island, which I was very thankful for because, you know, growing up in northern Wisconsin at that time, our school didn't have a lot of the advanced placement classes and things like that, like calculus and advanced chemistry and advanced physics. So going to the Naval Academy Prep School, where I was able to take basically freshman level college courses there at MAPS, helped me very much academically. And so I went there for a year from the fall of 1990 to May of 1991. And then there was 30 days of leave in between the Naval Academy Prep School and admittance into the Naval Academy. And I went home for that 1 month time frame, and unfortunately, when I was home during that 1 month, my father was out on the field one day, and a storm came over, and he was struck by lightning and was killed. And I tell that story because, especially when I go around the country and I speak to audiences and I speak to families and I speak to communities, it's important for people to know that aspect because it helps them understand that I understand what happens to a family when something tragic like that can happen, and what the power of the community coming together to support that family, what that can do to strengthen that family. Because I was a Napster, I did end up going to the Naval Academy like within the next week and a half after my father was killed, and that summer was a very tough summer for me because I knew that things were challenging at home. We had a farm. We had about 20 head of cattle. We had, you know, animals, and my mom wasn't doing so well. My brother wasn't doing so well. And so the Naval Academy leadership, and this is the power of the United States military, they recognized the fact that I needed to go home. I needed time to take care of my family. And so the Naval Academy leadership allowed me to go home for a year, and then all I had to do was send them a letter the following year to say that I would like to be readmitted with the next class, and the Naval Academy did within the class of '96. And so I came back after that year at home, getting things kind of back into shape and things back in order, things back on a kind of a much more stable condition. I came back to the Naval Academy in the summer of '92, went through plebe summer again. So for anybody who's gone through plebe summer, they all know that it's horrible. And to go through it twice is twice as horrible because you know everything that's going to happen. I graduated in the class of '96 with a bachelor's degree in ocean engineering, and I selected surface warfare, and I did my 17 years in the Navy as a surface warfare officer, serving on board various ship commands, and most of my shore commands were all in the Washington, D.C. area. In my last 2 years, I had the privilege and honor of working for Admiral Mike Mullen, who is the 17th chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and in that capacity, I was the deputy director of the Office of Warrior and Family Support, where I traveled all around the country to 329 communities, working with educators, employers, community providers, healthcare providers, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, really looking at what successful reintegration is for our military families, our veterans, our Gold Star families. And that's when I got out of the Navy in 2012, that kind of launched me, that right there launched me into a career in the nonprofit area, finding ways to continue to serve our veterans, their families, and our Gold Star families.
You were in one of my favorite cities in the world, San Diego, and you ran the Veterans Village in San Diego. And some of the things that I read, you did so much and helped all of those veterans. That was an amazing job. You were a great leader, and you learned all those skills, I would imagine, at the academy and while in the service.
I did learn a lot. The great thing is when I got out of the Navy in 2012, I did have the opportunity for 5 years. I co-founded a nonprofit called Dixon Center, and I ran that for 5 years. And I still, worked with Admiral Mullen. I still worked with Colonel Dave Sutherland, who still works at Dixon Center. And we still traveled all around the world. And actually all around the country, working with providers. And I actually, one of the organizations in San Diego that I had worked with was Veterans Village of San Diego. So I knew who they were. I knew what they were doing. I knew about the homeless veterans that they were providing services to. And then it just happened in 2017 when the current CEO had announced his retirement, and he had emailed me, and he sent me the job description saying, "Hey Kim, I'm going to be retiring, and here's the job posting." I don't think he expected that I would be the one to apply for the job. I think he thought that I might know somebody that I could forward to, but then a few people I had talked to, they had forwarded me the job description. They said, "Have you thought about applying for this job? You'd be excellent at it." And so I said, hadn't thought about it, but I guess I should. So I thought about it, and I applied, and much to my surprise, after 3 rounds of interviews, the board of directors did select me to be the president and CEO, and in 2017. And I tell you, Jim, moving to San Diego,
Okay,
that was the first time.
Yeah, we're going to have to take a commercial break, so we're going to be right back. Your story is so captivating, so I want everyone to stay with us on Alliance for the Brave as we're talking with Kimberly Mitchell, U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander, President of Nonprofits, actually in President George Bush's book. I got to tell you, what an amazing story. We're going to be back right after all of these words. This is Alliance for the Brave. Kimberly, can you hear me?
Kimberly, you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. Right. We're live on Facebook as we're talking. When we come back, I watched that interview with you that you did, and I believe it was CBS, And that was incredible. But you got to meet the Vietnamese Marine that saved your life. Was that the way I understood that? Did I remember that correctly?
That's correct. The gentleman that brought me to the orphanage and gave me my Vietnamese name.
Oh, wow.
And when we come back, I think that'd be a great story for you to tell, because you got to go back and meet him. Were you ever, and I couldn't go through the whole thing, but did you ever find out about your actual family, your mother and father? Did you get some?
No, with all the media that came out after Beltran and I reunited in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because that's where he lives now with his family, I've had no less than 10 Vietnamese families send me an email saying, "You're our long-lost baby," and I'm like, man, this is too much. I can't deal with this.
That has to be something. I think, too, one of the most amazing things is your things that you went through growing up. You overcame everything. You just got stronger and stronger, from what I can tell.
There's a lot of lessons in life that people can certainly take, right, as we grow up. And I think what makes people stronger is how do you take those lessons and build upon them and make you a stronger person and make you a more impactful person. How do you make you a more compassionate person in this world?
I got to tell you, and your dad, the Mr. Mitchell, he must have loved you a lot. He got to choose you. We don't always get to choose our children or our parents, but he chose you, and I bet you two guys were really close.
Yeah, we were. He wasn't so happy that I chose the Navy over the Air Force, but we got over it.
All right, so I think it'd be great to, when we come back, mention just a little bit about, your inspiration, what you learned, and use this to segue into talking about National University. And I got to tell you, I started reading about National University. I didn't know much about it. But when I was in the Navy, I lived down there in Imperial Beach. I wanted to go to San Diego State, something fierce, but came back to Texas and graduated from the university. But what a great town to go to school in, a great town, because there is so much education and so many resources in San Diego. People don't realize it. Scripps Institute.
That's right.
It's amazing. So, all right, we're going to be back on the air. And Facebook, thank you for joining us. If you have questions for Kimberly, send them. Diane will hand them to me. We love having you on board, Facebook. And I hope you're enjoying this as one of the best interviews and with one of the greatest ladies I've ever met. Here we go, right back on the radio.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, welcome back. You're on board with Jim Blythe and London Mason, Army, Navy. We have a great game all the time right here.
Sir.
And we're talking with Kimberly Mitchell, a United States Navy Lieutenant Commander, Surface Warfare. You got to drive some of those crazy airboats and do a lot of great things, didn't you, Kim?
I certainly did. It was a great experience.
I can imagine. And I think your story, so if you're just now tuning in, let me tell you something. This is one of the most amazing young ladies that I have ever talked to. An abandoned baby in Vietnam that was a newborn, her mother killed, taken to an orphanage by a Vietnamese Marine, and then adopted by an American GI, and grew up in the United States, went to the Naval Academy, then has been president and run nonprofits. How amazing. I think on the break we talked very briefly about the fact that you got to meet the Vietnamese Marine who saved your life and took you to the orphanage. Tell me just a little bit about that, because it has to be heart-rending.
It absolutely was. I would say that it was after my visit back to Vietnam in 2011, and there was a lot of press basically because of the U.S. Embassy did a press release on my visit back to Vietnam and the fact that I worked at the Pentagon for Admiral Mullen. And then in May of 2012, there was a magazine specifically geared and focused towards the Vietnamese community here in the United States, reprinted that press release about me in their magazine. And in Bao Tran and his family, who now live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, got a copy of that magazine. And in October of 2012, they reached out to me. Basically, it's through a friend of theirs who knew how to speak English a little bit better than they did. But the messages that I was getting on email was, "I know how you got to the orphanage in Vietnam, call me." Well, I will tell you that the first time I saw that, I was a little skeptical. I'm like, this is a scam, and I hit delete. In fact, I hit delete probably the first few times that I got that email. But I will tell you, they were very persistent, and one day they called me, and I answered the phone, and they told me about Bao Tran, and they called me right back when he was on the phone, and he told me the story that I relayed earlier about the bridge and the gentleman Quang Tree, and taking me down to the orphanage. And then we coordinated a meeting based on the fact that it was I was traveling all around the country all the time, so my travel schedule was just kind of crazy. But because I was at the end of March of 2013, I was going to be in LA, I made a point to say, do you want, I can fit in a quick trip to Albuquerque on the end of March. And so what we did was we planned to meet on the 29th of March, only because I was giving speeches in LA on the 28th, and the 29th I was able to be in Albuquerque to meet. And the day before we were scheduled to meet, a reporter from the Albuquerque Journal called me and said, "Hey, I know you're coming into to Albuquerque, and I know that the entire CBS national film team is coming with you. FYI, they've moved your meeting from Starbucks to the Vietnamese Community Center because there's going to be about 300 people there. All the media's there. All the newspapers are going to be there." And I said, "Well, why is it such a big deal?" He goes, "Kim, this is the biggest story in New Mexico." And I said, "Well, why is that?" And he goes, "Kim, March 29th is National Vietnam Veterans Day, the 40th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War." I had no clue. I had no idea that was the day that we just arbitrarily had chosen. And so when we did meet, he actually was wearing his South Vietnamese Marine uniform because he wanted to be in the same uniform that he was the last time he had seen me as an infant. And it was a watershed moment, right? It was just being able to meet him and say thank you. And I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but I did when I got up to speak to tell him thank you. And so it was something where, two people that had at one time come in contact with one another were able to come in contact 40 years later. And meet, right?
That is amazing. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got to take another commercial break. If you're watching us on Facebook, stay with us. Thank you to all of our affiliates, whether it's in Phoenix or Jacksonville or Norfolk, Virginia. And thank you to Robin Valtudo for arranging this. We're going to be right back after these words from all of our partners. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we've got U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander Kim Mitchell, an amazing lady, and we're going to be telling you about what she's doing now for veterans and how she is part of many of the solutions for higher education and making things work for you. This is Alliance for the Brave.
This story of you being in George Bush's book, that he painted the portrait, what kind of experience was that when you got that information? How did that make you feel?
Well, he told me.
Wow.
And that he had painted me, and I knew that something was up because his photographer, because I was part of a Bush Institute Veterans Leadership Program, and his photographer had taken a bunch of photos of me. As they said, the words were, he thinks he might want to paint you because he's very interested in your story. And we all knew about his project of painting immigrants because he had told us about it. But I didn't know for sure that he had painted me until October 2019, when we had all gathered at the Bush Institute, and he told everybody that he had painted me. And then when I saw it, I was amazed. I couldn't believe how well he'd done.
Wow. I found that article and I found that painting on the internet, and it was under military.com, and it's a beautiful. You're a beautiful lady, and I got to tell you
thank you.
I'd love.
You know, a lot of people said, "Well, he did capture his smile," and I said, "You know what? He did everybody differently." And I said, "This is the first portrait first portrait I've had done by anybody, let alone a former president of the United States." But to have, you know, it's not, and I'm not looking right at the camera, and I'm not smiling. It's more of an introspective, like me thinking.
Yeah. That's exactly what
it captures the essence of your Vietnameseness, but you're also, I think, as I listen to you, and I listen to people all the time, you got that Wisconsin accent. I mean, you're, and you know, one of the interesting things I was thinking about when I said your daddy got to choose you. Your daddy fell in love with you the first time he picked you up and chose you. And not everybody gets to choose their parents, or their parents get to choose them. But America chose you as well. I mean, he took you home. I think it's amazing, your story, going to the Naval Academy. That's a tremendous honor, in my opinion, because I grew up third generation Navy. I never even thought about being part of the Academy, and I wish I had. So that is amazing, because your drive, your zeal, you've got to have a great love affair with America, because it seems that America has had a love affair with you.
Yeah, I love this country, and I want to do everything I can to make it better for those who served and their families.
Well, that's why we do Alliance for the Brave. It isn't about those of us who have served, such as London. You were in Iraq. You were in the Desert Storm.
Desert Storm.
Yeah, I was actually in the Navy during Vietnam. I'm old enough to be your dad, probably. And I never was in country because we were on aircraft carriers, but that is a period of history that is so impactful when you think about all of the aspects of what happened, and you are a product of that history. Yeah. And man, that is beautiful. When we come back in just a second, we're about 30 seconds away, let's dive into now your national university, because I think that's an incredible thing.
Sounds good.
Hope you're enjoying this. I'm having a lot of fun. Facebook, you can look her up. You also on themilitary.com, she's there.
Today's program is brought to you by Gear Services Web Design. Visit us on Facebook or online at allianceforthebrave.com. And now, back to Alliance for the Brave.
Here's where we go. Well, welcome back. You got Jim Blythe and London Mason, Army, Navy. I mentioned that before, but I like to be redundant. London, this is incredible, isn't it?
This is absolutely amazing. It really is.
And when you talk, and I got to talk to Kim, I got to talk to you the other day, and it was so amazing. And I can tell your drive, your passion for veterans. And you took that from the Navy, from the Academy, to the Veterans Village, to your 501c3. Now you're the Senior Vice President with National University. Tell me a little bit about that, and how did you get that position?
Well, you know, I'm the type of person that never turns down an opportunity to continue to have more impact. And while I was the CEO of Veterans Village of San Diego, National University actually approached me and asked me to be on their board of trustees. while I was the CEO of VVSD. So I actually was on the board of trustees for the National University System for 2 years, and that's, to be able to see who the National University System is, see what National University does. I, had traveled around to 650 communities over the last 10 years, and I really hadn't become aware of what National University is or was and what they were doing. And I was instantly taken in with wow, these guys are doing a lot of things that can be done and maybe done a little bit better, maybe a little bit better marketing, better communications, better impact. All we just need is just a little bit of focus more intently on our service members and our veterans and their spouses. And I think because I kind of talk that way, the leadership of National University after 2 years said, you know what? Why don't you just leave VVSD and come work for us? And I said, well, what are you talking about? And they said, we'll make you an offer you can't refuse, and come over and help us do what you want, what you see us being able to do for our service members and our veterans. And so I did. I actually started this job on March 16th of 2020, and I will tell you, I don't recommend starting a job the week that the entire country goes into lockdown because of the pandemic. I was literally the second day on the job, we were told to take our laptops home and work from home, because at that point in time, as you recall, everyone thought, we'll only be working remotely for about 3 weeks, and then we'll all be back in the office. Well, you've seen how that kind of played out. But the thing is, though, I think I was fortunate enough, I think because I was on the board of trustees for 2 years, it gave me an interesting perspective of how to come at this job. One, I already knew the senior leaders of the university. I already knew kind of what they did. Now, in this job, it allowed me to really kind of focus, what are we doing for our students? How is it that they're coming online? What can we be doing better? What kind of, for me, I kind of go at the premise that we don't make a promise that we don't, won't, or can't keep for our active duty, our veterans, and our military families, right? If we tell people that we're going to do something, we got to do it. Otherwise, you don't tell them you're going to do it, right? And so, really focusing, and for me, it's compassionate outreach. And then, that's something not only that I knew at the Naval Academy, and I knew running Dixon Center, but I really learned at VVSD.
Wow.
Compassionate outreach, right? Really getting to learn where someone is in life, figure out how we can help them. How can we at National University offer them classes? It might be a certification, it might be a degree, and hopefully it is a degree, and that we can help them get the services that they need and get them on that career pathway to getting the job that they want to have, to be able to provide for them and their families, right? Because it can't be just any job. We as veterans don't want to be, given a minimum wage job and say, here's a paycheck every couple of weeks and go off and do whatever it is that you do. We want to contribute to organizations. We want our skills, values, and competencies to be recognized, not only in the education university that we're going to, but also in the organization that we get on job to be able to provide for them. Everybody has the potential for greatness, right? And that is, I want to be able to provide for my family. I want to be able to be an impact player in my community, and that's what veterans want to do. They've done amazing things in the service. Now it's time for us, and not only National University, but all organizations within the community, to be able to reach out and be more proactive for successful transition and reintegration for our families.
Kim, tell us something about some of the programs, because education is so important. I know from my experience in the Navy, your experience in the Navy, and this National University was started in 1971 by military veterans. So it's got a veteran orientation to that. So tell us specifically, if you can, about some of the programs that veterans might be interested in.
So we have some very unique programs. So, National University does a lot with law enforcement partnerships because, a lot of our military, especially those maybe in the Army and Marine Corps, that's what we have noticed. A lot of our Army soldiers, our Army veterans, and our Marine veterans are very interested in our law enforcement programs. We have a great healthcare. So a lot of our nursing programs, a lot of our nursing students actually come from military students and EMT programs and things like that. So we also have a very unique cybersecurity program where we have a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity or a master's. And our master's degree, Jim, our master's degree is actually recognized and certified by NSA. And so to be able to have that, right? And so that's what I'm working on, is really kind of figuring out what programs that we're already doing well, that our military service members are interested in, but really working closer with the services to create programs where we can take prior learning, for instance, leadership, right? So we have a bachelor's degree in leadership, we have a master's degree in leadership. We have also partnered with the Center for Creative Leadership, which is actually down in North Carolina, to create an online one-year MBA, right? I mean,
Wow.
Can you think of the power that
Yes.
an MBA can provide students, right? So, and what I want to do is, there's a lot of service members out there. There's a lot of veterans out there that have, the military is the best leadership machine in the world, right? Everybody learns
Without a
leadership,
doubt. Without a
whether
doubt.
you're, enlisted or you're officer, you are leading people. That's what we do. So let's take some of that prior learning and those skills that the military has already taught this amazing group of people and work with the services to create maybe specific modules to be able to get them those degrees in leadership, right? To have something solid that says,
Man.
hey, look at this.
I'd like to look
right?
into that myself. Kim, one of the things is the university is based in San Diego, but you are doing it on a national scale using virtual learning. So are there some state-specific things that you guys are focused on or a national scale? Can you tell me a little bit about that, please?
So we have a lot of, most of our students that are outside of San Diego and the California area are very much virtual, and we have synchronous and asynchronous programs. We actually have a scholarship. Ironically, we have a scholarship for veterans in the state of Texas. That's only available for veterans in the state of Texas, and that actually was started, I think, right before I came to National University, and so that has really helped a lot of our students. But we've also implemented a veteran spouse and dependent scholarship for students that want to come in. So for veterans that maybe are older veterans that don't have the post 9/11 GI Bill, we can offer them a 25% tuition discount. As you know, the spouses of veterans are quite often the ones that don't have any educational benefits, so they get the 25% tuition discount as well as their dependents, because then that starts making education more affordable, right? If we can make education more affordable, figure out what their prior learning is, giving them a quality education, and then industry partners to be able to get them jobs in the industry afterwards. That's that holistic approach that we're coming at National University now. And so, I love that spouse scholarship because, as I'm kind of working with a lot of caregivers, and those caregivers that are taking care of their loved ones that are Chapter 35 benefit eligible, right? Maybe that their loved one is at 100% disability rating. They're entitled to Chapter 35 benefits. That Chapter 35 benefits, and combined with a 25% tuition discount, takes our education price to down to about $100 to $150 a class.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow,
So
that's
you
pretty
start
amazing.
looking at that, education is very much affordable, right? And when you're taking an asynchronous class, which means, if you don't know what asynchronous, it means it's not live, right? You can go online at 2 o'clock in the morning if you want, and do your work and submit your work, and then turn it in, and that works for a lot of people's schedules. It doesn't work for everyone, but it works for a lot of people that don't have the option to go to a traditional brick and mortar school, or their life, the life events just has prohibited them from going to school.
Well, and a lot of people,
shape or another.
Yeah, my son, I have a son that works for Peterbilt, and many times he's worked these off shifts, and so he just can't, you can't be somewhere at a certain time. So this is really, really important.
Yeah. Kim, you have a host of information, and I'm so glad that we were able to conversate with you and you give out the information that you've been given. It has been an absolute fabulous, awesome story. Can you tell us about your website, how we can get in contact with you with the National University and things of that nature?
Yes, well, our website is just nu.edu, right? And that right there has a lot of information, and there's actually a live chat where you need to go online, and if you're military affiliated, if you're active duty, veteran, spouse, tell the chat person who comes online right away so that they can direct you to one of our specialists that is very in tune with what benefits people are entitled to, the processes by which active duty must go through, the processes by which veterans go through, and that sometimes, as I've experienced, sometimes veterans, especially women veterans, sometimes are a little hesitant to say that they're a veteran. And I'm not sure why, because I am very proud of my service, and I want everybody to be proud of their service, right? When I was at VDSD, I told people that I don't care if you were in 1 day or you were in 20 years. At one time, you had raised your right hand, right, and taken an oath. So, I want veterans to say, let us know if you're a veteran. Let us know if you're active duty. Let us know if you're a spouse. And we have specific programs. We have specific scholarships for you. And we have specific assistance and resources for you to ensure that you are successful when you come to school. And to get you, we will meet you where you are and accompany you on your journey to get you where you want to be in life.
So that's nu.edu. I went to their website. Yes. I looked it up. It's truly amazing, all of the courses. And one of the things that I want to reiterate that what Kim is saying is National University was started by military. It has a military undertone to it. It has a military way of doing things that I began to see in doing the research on it. And it's a tremendous opportunity. And I got to tell you, I want to bring you to Texas and speak to some of our groups down here. So we'll be right back after these words. We're going to close out with Kim talking about National University. You need to go to nu.edu. This is Alliance for the Brave, and this is all about education, right, London?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And we're going to be right back after these words from all of our partners. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we bring the education, information, and communication to you with Miss Kimberly Mitchell, Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy, Naval Academy graduate, CEO of the Veterans Village in San Diego, and our guest today. We'll be right back after these words. Thank you for being on board. Thank you for being a part of Alliance for the Brave. I'm sitting here and I've got this black and white of your portrait, and here's one of the things that all of a sudden it really dawned on me. President Bush captured something in your eyes, in your look, that is very captivating. I didn't know how good he was until I really.
I don't think any of us did.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like he actually captured you, and in a gaze, in something at the moment, and for me, if I'm honest, Kimberly, it speaks to when you look at this photo. When I look at it, and this is my first time looking at it, it speaks so heavily to your journey, to, you know, from when you were found, carried, brought to the village, finally moved to America. I mean, that gaze, and this is why, in what I'm thinking, this is why they selected you to be who you were, because of what this looks like and how you portray the positiveness and being able to help those that are in need, our veterans and their families and things of that nature. That's what that, to me, that's what that gaze signifies. It's captivating.
It really is.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And it's very much, it's truly an honor that President Bush chose me and my story. I mean, and he knows millions of people, and like I'm one of the 43 stories in the book, right? And they sent us a copy of the portrait, and it's hanging on my wall in my house. It's 3 feet by 3 feet. So
wow.
It's a little, it's big, and it's definitely a conversation piece to anyone that comes into the house.
Yeah.
Well, here you are with National University. Where do you want to go from here, Kimberly?
I don't know.
I got to tell you.
I'm always looking for more impact, right? I mean, and that's my life. Like, if there, I love working at National University, and I've got a lot of work to do. But I also know that, hey, I'm also all about impact. So, I just kind of keep going where I need to go to keep having an impact to enable our service members, veterans, and their families.
Kimberly, do you see a book or books in your future?
I have had a lot of people tell me I need to write a book, and I said, well, one of these days when I get time.
I think the book ought to be America's Love Affair with You and Your Love Affair with America. Honestly, because you have so much spirit and imagination. Here's the other thing. I've known a lot of foreign nationals who came to the United States and joined the Navy. One of my favorite guys I've met, Drago Dresden, who grew up in Poland, was part of the Solidarity Unit movement, and his father got him out of Poland by getting him out of prison because he was in Solidarity. And he came to the United States with a master's degree in computer science and became a Navy SEAL. I mean,
oh, wow.
There are so many stories. So we're going to come back in just a second, Kimberly. And Facebook, thank you for being on board. Please look up National University, nu.edu. And
listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, welcome on board. We're about to pull this program back into the dock. Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran, London Mason, Army veteran, and our special guest today, our featured spotlight, Kimberly. You are so incredible in terms of your story, Miss Mitchell, and what you've done. And we talked about just for a second ago, where do you want to go? And you gave me 2 words that I wrote down, and man, I'm never going to forget. So tell me again, where do you want to go from here?
I want to go to some place where I can continue to have more impact for our service members, our veterans, and their families, because I believe that all of our families who have served and those who have served have a potential for greatness.
Kimberly, if you were going to speak to a group of young high school students or young college students or people that are getting that point in life where am I going to go? What am I going to do? What would you say about a military career and a start in life? Because you did it. I did it. London did it.
I would say that if you want a chance to make a positive impact on your community and your world, to make it better than it is right now, to serve for a cause greater than yourself, to contribute to why we live in the greatest country in the world, and join the military. You will get skills beyond your wildest dreams. You will have the opportunity to meet people from all different backgrounds, from all different walks of life. You'll have a better understanding of the way our country operates, the way this world operates, and why it's so important that we come together as one nation. And that the skills that you will bring home to your family and your community, the skills, values, and competencies, is going to have you on at a level that your peers can never compete with you.
Okay, I've got the title for your book. More Impact. I got to tell you, that's what you need to write that book.
More Impact, the American Dream.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, wow. Maybe you all need to help me out.
Hey, listen, I've written 2 books, and I got to tell you, I have the world's greatest editor in my wife who's handling the social media. Special thank you to her, because this is going to be rebroadcast in a number of markets as well as TV stations. This is an important thing. So we're about to come down to the close. Let me have a moment of prayer, because you are God's miracle, without a doubt. So, Lord God, I want to say thank you for Kimberly Mitchell and the miracle that you have brought about in her life to have her be an American. We're in love with her as a Vietnamese American, and she is in love with our country. So, Lord God, thank you for protecting her. Thank you for bringing her to us. Thank you for protecting our active duty military, whether it's in land, sea, or air. And thank you for our first responders, especially the medical in this time. Thank you, God. And we just turn to you and repeat the 91st Psalm and know that you are our protector, our Redeemer. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, Kim, this has been a fabulous experience to have you on board to talk about National University. Again, we want everybody to go to nu.edu. You can go to our Alliance for the Brave and take a look at it. We've got it posted. That's 2 minutes left, Chris? No, 2 seconds? Okay, I got an engineer that
20 seconds.
who I absolutely love. So I want to say thank you to Chris. Thank you to my beautiful wife. A special thank you for Robin Valtudo for bringing us Kim and National University. What an incredible opportunity. If you're a veteran, take a look at this. I got to tell you, everybody needs better certifications, better education. So thank you for being on board. Thank you, London, for being here. And God bless America, and have a great day.
I'm a daughter